I want to thank sincerely everyone for being here. This is a public meeting, the idea of which has been considered, I have to say, a number of times over the past couple of years, perhaps the last few years, and I have to tell you and just be absolutely upfront, I was warned several times over the past period of time that this wouldn't be a good idea. I'd been told that the meeting would be hijacked, that it would be divisive, that it would be uncontrollable and disruptive, and it's been suggested that it would be unproductive. The reason you're all here, I presume, is because, for the same reasons as I organised this meeting. There are concerns about a number of issues facing the town, and I believe that it's only right and fair that the people of Carrick have an open opportunity to air those concerns and be assured that those in positions of influence are listening and, more importantly, responding.
People in the town of Carrickmacross would like answers. And what I've been listening to tonight before this meeting started was, we have had an influx of people in the last couple of years. And we would like to know, has that number been capped at this point in time? Because the town has become saturated with, we'll say, maybe bad influence, not all, but there is an element of badness. And can you provide us with a figure at this point in time as to whether or not that number is final with the intake that is already in the town, or are there likely to be more coming forward in the foreseeable time? That's the first question I want to ask, okay? And maybe you can address that at the next meeting. The second point I want to raise is, in recent times, my brother had a massive stroke, okay? And it's only when he came back to his house on Farney Street that I realised how bad, we say, antisocial behaviour was in the town of Carrickmacross. I went down to the corporation offices, the civic offices, and I raised the point that I was greatly concerned about my very disabled brother back at his premises on Farney Street. And I asked, would say, if something could be done about the people living who were occupying the house next door, because not only were they interfering with the code for the carers to gain access to his home, and I had to remove certain individuals from that code box on so many occasions. I had to bring it to the attention of the guards. Now, to be fair to the guards, they are constantly on the beat and, we'll say, kind of monitoring the movements of certain individuals. But another thing that was shocking for me, and I had to address, and it fell on dead ears. The engineers, I'm not mentioning any names, but when I brought it to their attention that the neighbours were turning the back entrances into the houses on Farney Street in that particular area, they were turning it into a ghetto. Nothing was done, Matt. Then I had to approach the sisters of the Louis Order there, because they own the land, but they can't block off the right of entrance to the houses there in the road. Now, they did their best to address the issue, but again it fell on deaf ears. So I kind of felt I was fighting a losing battle, because if they weren't the engineers listening to the nuns who owned the land, but then it was devaluing the price of our house on Farney Street, the fact that the neighbours were turning it into a ghetto. You understand where I'm coming from? And at the end of the day, here I am many months later, nobody has addressed my concerns, not one person. And my brother is exceptionally vulnerable in the house. I'm watching the house and have people watching his house 24 hours a day because of people interfering with the code box, trying to get in. And if anybody gets into it, he basically can be subjected to God only knows what. And the person who was wielding his knife, can I just say, he also was living next to a very vulnerable person in the town. The man was blind.
Yes.
Not only was that person exceptionally vulnerable, they also turned the house next door into a ghetto and totally devalued, I am sure, the price of that poor gentleman's house and the neighbours on the other side. They're simple things, I'm sorry to say, to me they can be easily addressed. I'm bringing them to your attention tonight, and I hope to God it will be addressed in the foreseeable times.
Thank you, well done on your voice projection, I have to say. I didn't think we'd be all able to hear you. Can I just suggest that you do hang on at the end and talk to one of the councillors in terms of the particular issues? There's someone else in there?
Just a quick one for you. What's happening with the Newmore Hotel?
Where's that?
The Newmore. The hotel.
Who's asking that? Yeah, the Newmore, okay. We'll come to the Newmore as well.
I don't think I need it.
It would be helpful if you...
Can you hear me up there, yeah? You can hear me okay. That gives after mentioning a couple of things here in the town about, well, somebody mentioned seating. There was a seat up at Marky's there for a number of years. You all remember that? Why was that taken away? Well, I had my take on that. Twice over a period of maybe 6 months, since these boys moved in, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I had to move gays off that seat at lunchtime when the girls were coming out from the convent, right? I had daughters at that school, so I was coming down the street, coming to there, they were congregating around there, and just watched the girls as they walked by. I pulled my handbrake and I moved them. I held in traffic. I didn't care who or what was on the street. They were moving, right? Twice I done it in the space of a couple of months. Then one day I was coming down the street and the seat was gone. Why was that? Was there nobody else around that's seen that around the town? I'm not from Carrick, but it's the town. I grew up in the town, right? And the other thing was mentioned about the caps on these guys that's coming in. There is no cap. They're coming in the dead of the night. They'll be moved into this town every morning in vans, coming into this town. There is no caps. Probably Matt doesn't know the figure. He probably the man, as he says, he's not in government. He's the best opposition we have, right? But he's doing something for us, right? But the numbers, the truth, we need to know why they're coming in, why so many, right? And the other thing is the language that's been used. We have right wing, we have left wing. 70% of the people in this room are over 50. They don't know these words. They don't know the math. The English is gone. So you have people here listening about this and he's and she's and the first speaker, I don't know what was going on there. But, all these. So don't wave your hand at me, I am speaking. Now, so you've all this going on, right? And you two foreign men here, gentlemen, speaking there earlier. So we have the good, but we actually have the bad as well. It's the bad we're worried about. These the good guys, as I call them, it's in a number of years, they have been worried, and they've been tarnished, right? When these groups are walking around the streets, shouting, get them out, get them out. It's not get the foreigners out, it's get the fucking government out. That's what it is, it's in out It's all going late about what's going on, hey. But the lingo for normal Irish people, actually, there is people here that doesn't know these words. There are acts of people, and you'll hear them, I'll let them at it. That's a great word for the older person now. They don't know what's going on. Am I right or am I wrong here? There's a lot of it going on. I can't give myself, there's that much, man. So, but I begin enough to know that there's a lot of wrong going on in this country at the minute. A lot of wrong. And a few years ago, we were fighting for our 6 counties. At the minute, we are fighting for the fucking 26 that's down the same thing. There's a lot of anger. The anger that's building up in this country at the minute is crazy. Now, I'm sure you know that yourself, everybody's getting it. So everybody's listening to it, but I think this warden, especially at meetings and all that, would want to be taken down a wee bit so that people understand. A lot of people doesn't understand what's going on. They see it, but the lingo isn't there. They just don't understand it.